The canary my husband kept was extremely obedient. She would persuade my husband to come home when we were in a Cold War. She would even help choose gifts for my daughter's birthday. Friends in our circle all advised me, this obedient one is at least better than those shameless vixens who don't know their place. For the sake of the children, just turn a blind eye. But one night before bed, I overheard my husband speaking earnestly into his phone. There's a storm tonight. Make sure you close the windows tightly. If you catch a cold, I'll worry. At that moment, I was tired. After I proposed divorce, my husband sneered again and again. You should know what's good for you. I come home for dinner every day, and Diana has never caused trouble in front of you. What exactly are you unhappy about? I looked at him calmly and said, if I must give a reason, then it's that after getting used to fresh vegetables and fruit, I still can't accept a rotten cucumber. Chapter 1. I had spent 2 years in the United States accompanying my child while they studied. After I came back, I discovered that Leo had changed. The way he looked at me was still affectionate and gentle, but in the corner of his eyes, there was a barely noticeable distance. I was a very sensitive person and could easily sense this tiny difference. Besides, after not seeing me for more than half a year, he did not bring up sleeping together. One had to know that although Leo was already 49, his body was still in good shape. People say a Ferrari is still a Ferrari, and he undoubtedly belonged to that type. His tall, lean figure made him look intellectual and steady. His deep features were not diminished by the extra wrinkles. In the past, when we were together, we would be intimate every few days. Other than that, his style of dress had also changed. Leo's formal wear and casual wear had always been matched by a professional stylist I hired. While showing his maturity and steadiness, it also balanced comfort and taste. But this time, when I came back, I discovered that he was wearing a fashionable pink tie. There was no way he had bought that himself. My heart sank slightly, and I calmly observed him without showing anything. All kinds of signs indicated that Leo had probably cheated. Chapter 2. Very soon, my secretary helped me find out the woman's situation. This girl was only 22, the same age as my son. In the photo, she was pure, beautiful, and one could even say strikingly spirited. Even if she became an idol at some entertainment company, she would not be inferior at all. I took a deep breath, and my hands could not stop trembling. At this age, I thought there were no sudden events left that could shake my heart. But more than 20 years of standing together through thick and thin, this kind of betrayal was no different from being flayed and having my bones pulled out. It hurt to the core. My secretary watched my expression and said in a low voice, "This woman is called Diana. She graduated in finance from a prestigious domestic university. At school, she was always the campus belle. Last year, Leo went to her alma mater to give a speech. At the time, she was the host. This year, Leo recruited her into the company and made her a secretary in the president's office. Usually, they're fairly low-key, but Leo bought her a villa in Tianhe Garden. The average price of villas in Tianhe Garden was between 10 million and 30 million. What generosity! I closed my eyes, my nails digging deeply into my palms. Chapter 3. To be honest, after the initial blow, I began habitually analyzing the pros and cons. Facing this kind of situation, I actually knew a standard set of procedures for handling it. Divorce was temporarily not within consideration. My interests and Leo's were too deeply intertwined. If we divorced, it would affect everything. Besides, my son had just graduated from Harvard Business School this year. He had already entered the company to gain experience, and I still needed to guide his direction. My daughter was only 14 and right in adolescence. A broken family would bring them no benefit at all. Moreover, if I divorced, it would be making room for that Diana. She was so young. She would certainly have children too. Then my son and daughter's assets would be diluted. Not being able to keep love was a regret. But if I couldn't keep property, I would bleed tears. Chapter 4. After returning home, I pretended not to know. That night, the four of us sat together for dinner. My son talked about amusing stories among his classmates abroad, and my daughter complained that her new teacher was strict. The family was warm and harmonious, happy and joyful. After dinner, I asked my daughter a few questions about her schoolwork, then returned to my room to rest. My head hurt badly. After learning that Leo had cheated, My heart would palpitate whenever I saw him. In the past, we had been so loving, so aligned in our interests, and had talked about everything. Now, we had actually reached this point too. I suddenly thought that if it had been me at 26 or 36, I might have charged forward in a fury and turned everything upside down. But now, at 46, I had learned to assess the situation and remain still. Whether this was progress or regression, I did not know. Leo also saw that my mood was low. After entering the room, he held my shoulders and said, "Tired? Is your jet lag still not over?" I looked at him expressionlessly. After a moment, I smiled without warmth and said, "No matter how tired I am, I'm not as tired as you." At this age, still having to deal with a flower-like young girl, he must have been drained dry long ago. Leo smiled awkwardly. "Isn't that the truth? There have been too many dinner parties lately. I've even gotten a beer belly. It's great that you're all back. From now on, if they call me out again, I can turn them down." Hearing these words, my heart softened a little, and I nodded. Chapter 5. Leo stayed home with me for several days, but I could sense that he was somewhat anxious. Was he in a hurry to go see someone? By the second week, he suddenly said he had to go to the United States on a business trip. My daughter sighed and complained, "We only just got back, and you're already going on a business trip." Leo pinched her cheek. "Dad will be back very soon. I'll definitely bring you a gift." My daughter curled her lips. Humph. After saying that, he turned to my son and said, "As for company matters, watch more and learn more. In the future, the world will belong to you young people." My son had always been very confident and smiled. "Don't worry, Dad." After he left, I had someone check the list of people traveling with him. I discovered that Diana's name appeared clearly on the flight list. Chapter 6. It seemed Leo could not hold back anymore and wanted to go on a date with his little lover. Perhaps because he was afraid I would find out, he moved the main battlefield abroad. I clenched my fists. After hesitating for a moment, I hired a private detective. Very soon, he sent back countless high-definition photos. Knowing was one thing, seeing it was another. My husband, Leo, and the young girl were dressed in casual clothes, holding hands, with arms around each other's shoulders, strolling down the streets of New York. They were like lovers reunited after a long separation, kissing and hugging on the street, drinking coffee in some unknown little cafe, and feeding pigeons in the square. At night, they stayed in the presidential suite of a five-star hotel. I could imagine those messy scenes of limbs tangled together, and the private detective I hired was far too competent. He had even installed a camera in the hotel. The high-definition video he sent back was a full gigabyte in size. I did not click on it. I was afraid that if I watched it, I would never be able to face Leo again. However, since he was so obsessed with Diana, I felt it was time to pour a bucket of cold water over him and give him a warning. Chapter 7. After Leo returned to the country, I went to his office without the slightest politeness and threw the photos in his face. Leo was stunned at first. "You sent someone to follow me?" I sneered. "These were taken by a media outlet. I spent $5 million to buy them. You should be thanking me for still understanding the bigger picture at a time like this. Otherwise, if these things got released and your cheating during marriage came out, the company's stock price would definitely be affected by you. How would you explain that to the shareholders then?" Leo gradually calmed down. He knew I had always been logical and clear-headed. Even if I had made all of this up, he could not find any flaws in it. After taking a deep breath, Leo said in a low voice, "Roma." I said in disappointment. During the 2 years I accompanied our son abroad for his studies, I thought we had an unspoken understanding. I know that in your position, many women will throw themselves at you, but I also face temptation abroad. Yet I can swear on our sons' and daughters' lives that I never betrayed you. And how did you treat me? Between us, does even the most basic trust no longer exist? A trace of shame flashed across Leo's face. "I was only playing around. I'm sorry, but you should know that I respect you. I didn't want to hurt you, and I wanted even less to destroy our family." I did not say a word. I only looked at him coldly. Leo sucked in a breath and ran his fingers through his hair. "Roma, I'm sorry. Give me some time. I'll handle it cleanly." That was exactly what I wanted. After the thunderous pressure came understanding and acceptance. I sighed, walked over, and held his hand. I can give you one more chance. It's for the sake of our 2 children and for the feelings we once had. Not for you. Chapter 8. To appease me, Leo quickly fired Diana and sold the villa in Tianhe Garden. Everything was handled quietly, as if that girl had never appeared. The following days were also especially peaceful. Leo pushed aside all kinds of meaningless social engagements and came home for dinner every day. When facing Lucas and Olivia, he was undoubtedly a good father. He would talk with them about everything under the sun, discuss their studies and their lives, and use his own experience to pave the way for them. At the same time, I could also feel that he was working hard to repair the rift between us. 2 months later, summer vacation arrived. Leo suggested that the whole family go to an island for vacation and enjoy the natural scenery. This proposal received unanimous approval from the whole family. We chose a resort hotel on one of the Indonesian islands. Swimming, fishing, and eating delicious food every day. After so many busy years, I had never felt this relaxed. Sometimes, when I looked at my handsome son, my lovely daughter, and our family together, I felt that my choice had been right. But one night, Leo went out to smoke. Because I could not stand the smell of smoke. He had always been sensible enough to avoid me. But I noticed that he had not taken his room card. Afraid it would be inconvenient for him, I chased after him. Before I even reached the doorway, I heard a low, tender voice. Baby, I really missed you so much. In that instant, all the blood in my body seemed to freeze. The subtropical weather felt colder than the deepest winter. So it turned out, they had never ended things. Chapter 9. Leo turned around and saw me too. After the momentary shock faded, there was no longer any guilt in his eyes like last time. We remained silent for a very long time. Only when I finally could not hold back anymore did I question him in a hoarse voice. Do you have any credibility left at all? Leo hung up the phone. He took a deep breath. She's pitiful too. She lost a perfectly good job. Her first time was with me. In any case, I can't be too cruel to her. What was this supposed to mean? I could almost not believe my ears and said sarcastically, so you can't be cruel to her, but you can be cruel to me? She is a mistress, a cheap woman who destroyed someone else's family. A girl her age. Do you really think she sincerely loves you? What she loves is your money and power, your fame and status. Leo, you're already this old. Don't you understand that? Are you an idiot? The more I spoke, the more agitated I became, and the last sentence was almost roared out. Leo seemed to have been stabbed in a sore spot by me and said angrily, the feelings between us are not something you can judge. Am I not worthy of sincere feelings? Not everyone loves money. Not everyone loves money? So the person who loves money is me, then? Yes, over the years, although I had not held a position in the company, I had always controlled the family's financial power. I was born into an influential political and business family, and I knew the key points of these matters very well. I also had a profitable art trading center in my hands. For wealthy people, it was far from enough for all their assets to be cash and precious metals. Turning money into artworks was a rather clever method, because no one could predict what might happen in the future. If assets were frozen by the court, or if thieves broke into the home, these things would be safer than cash or gold bars. After all, there were too few people who truly knew their value, and I could guarantee that every collectible bought from me was clearly priced. If they ever lacked money and brought it back, I would refund them at the original price. This was the main reason I could move through the business world with ease. Over the years, relying on my ability, I had built bridges for Leo, connected him with business opportunities, and won over countless advantages for him. I had only accompanied our son abroad for 2 years of study, and he found himself a mistress. Now he was even turning around and blaming me first. Chapter 10. Seeing that I was furious beyond measure, Leo wanted to step forward and take my hand. Stop making a scene, all right? I'll cut things off with her. I just need some time. Don't worry, she doesn't want anything. She just can't bear to leave me. Hearing this nonsense, I could not stop myself from laughing coldly. Leo frowned. Don't be like this, all right? The children will find out. I slapped away the hand he reached toward me and said sharply, Have I been giving you too much face, Leo? She doesn't want anything? She only wants you? Then what about the villa, the sports car, and all those countless luxury goods you bought her before? Did you feed all that to the dogs? Leo panted heavily and said, She didn't ask me to do that. I wanted to give her some compensation. When you usually buy bags, buildings, and those so-called haute couture jewels, I've never interfered. How can that be the same? I raised my voice. The money I spend is what I'm entitled to. It's marital property. The money you spent on a mistress is also my money. Since you've deceived me again and again, I won't tolerate it any longer. Leo, I'm telling you, every single cent you spent on her, I will sue in court to get it back. You're protecting her, aren't you? Then I, Roma, will use all my resources and power to destroy her. Leo's pupils widened, and he said sternly, Don't you dare. I sneered and said word by word, What a joke. Just watch whether I dare or not. After so many years as husband and wife, I had always done what I said. He knew I had the ability to do it. Leo sucked in a sharp breath, took half a step back, and gave a mocking laugh. You really are something. Roma! Threatening me, are you? I'm telling you, I won't let you succeed. You say she's illegal, right? Then I'll divorce you and marry her. After that, no matter how much money I spend on her, you won't be able to interfere. I've had enough of you in this lifetime. Chapter 11. This time, our argument was fierce. We even tore away that last layer of shame and brought up divorce. One had to know that I did indeed have many concerns about divorce. But wasn't Leo the same? Divorce would be damaging to both of us, leaving both sides wounded. Now it seemed that he was not merely playing around with Diana. He was truly obsessed. Or perhaps, one could say that love had grown between them. After we parted unhappily, Leo claimed there was an urgent matter and took a plane away from the island. My son and daughter looked at one another, somewhat confused. As for me, I was in a kind of half-vacuum state. Since things had been said to this point, I did not regret it. After 20 years as husband and wife, I had never expected that our home would be stolen by some little girl with no reputation. Or perhaps, I had still underestimated human nature. After returning this time, Leo changed from his previous discretion and began appearing openly with Diana as a couple. He settled her in an even better and more luxurious home, and took her to all kinds of high-end drinking parties. Once, we even ran into each other at the same club. It was also the first time I saw what Diana looked like in real life. I had to admit, she was even more beautiful in person than in the photos. Like a plump, juicy cherry. When Leo saw me, he was flustered for a moment. Then his pupils tightened, and he quickly shielded the charming and lovely girl behind him. Was he afraid I would hurt her? I only felt the veins in my forehead throbbing, and my blood pressure rising, while both sides were deadlocked. Diana suddenly pushed Leo away. She bowed to me, then turned and ran. Leo looked at her quickly retreating figure, his expression full of heartache. Did she think she was Cinderella? What a wonderful performance. Chapter 12. After returning home, Leo solemnly apologized to me. Next time, this kind of situation won't happen again. Diana also feels very sorry. I looked at him. At some point, he had become so unfamiliar that I could no longer recognize him. Because my mood was so terrible, I only felt as if a breath was stuck in my chest, unable to rise or fall. Afterward, my best friend said to me, At least Leo still respects you. Look at the boss of Nandong Technology. He even brought his illegitimate son home. I laughed self-mockingly. Is that so? Then should I feel grateful? Magnanimously set up a few banquet tables for them. Let her serve me tea, and then give her a proper status? My best friend sighed. If you can't let it go, the one who suffers will only be you. Yes, I could not let it go. I knew this society was not black and white, and I also understood that existence had its reasons. But why should I, Roma, swallow such humiliation? On the other hand, Leo still came home every day and said to me, Roma, can we just keep things like this? Stop making trouble. I can guarantee that my wife will always be only you. Diana really is very obedient and proper. When we argue, She has always been persuading peace, telling me to understand and respect you. She has never forced me to divorce you and marry her. She only hopes to receive a tiny bit of care. Darling, you are very good. I have always acknowledged everything you have given. You are capable, elegant, and charming. You raised both children very well. You have always been a qualified wife. But look at the people around us. Which family doesn't have this kind of thing? For a successful man like me, with such a large family business, having only one woman is truly impossible. I looked at him coldly. Then how are you going to explain this to the children? Tell them that you've taken a second wife who is the same age as your son? How do you expect them to see you? A trace of unnaturalness flashed across Leo's face. They're grown up, naturally. They'll understand. So he had truly become shameless. Chapter 13. Just like that, things between Leo and me reached a stalemate. In front of the children, he still behaved very well, pretending to be a loving couple with me, but in private, we were colder to each other than strangers. The matter spread, and relatives and friends all came to persuade me. This obedient one is at least better than those shameless vixens who don't know their place. For the sake of the children, just turn a blind eye. But you still have to keep an eye on her. You absolutely can't let her have children. That's right, as long as she doesn't have children. Who cares where they go fooling around? Everyone said the same things over and over. Only old Madame Song left a deep impression on me. She said, "We're all women. I know you can't swallow this anger, but I'm more than 10 years older than you. So let me tell you from experience. When my husband was young, he was truly a playboy. There was more than one woman around him. Back then, I gritted my teeth and refused to divorce. I endured until he was in his 60s and 70s. Until his body broke down and he couldn't play around anymore. Naturally, he returned to the family. Now he stays home every day growing flowers, playing chess, and playing with the grandchildren. He's extremely well behaved. Our children are also filial to us. This is what it means to hold on until the clouds part and the moon appears." For once, everyone's tone was unusually consistent. Yes, as long as I sat firmly in this position, I would be the one and only Mrs. Leo. My son and daughter would be Leo's only two heirs. I married Leo when I was 22, accompanied him through starting his business, accompanied him through his struggles, and gave him all my time and youth. Now that success and fame had arrived, was I supposed to cause everything to fall apart and let someone else sit back and enjoy the fruits? But I still felt it was meaningless. Everything was utterly meaningless. So one day, without saying a word, I took a plane to Europe to shop. Within one day, I maxed out 2 black cards. Looking at the goods filling the presidential suite, my emptiness finally reached its peak. This could not solve the predicament before me. I had no choice but to return to the country in low spirits. Leo came to the airport to pick me up, with worry on his face. He said, "Are you feeling better? If not, I'll make time next month and take you to see the aurora. Roma, let's make up. You and I have been husband and wife for more than 20 years. We're not just family, we're more than family. Seeing you upset makes me upset too. But my sadness was caused by you, with your own hands." That night, Leo refused to let me go home and insisted on taking me to eat French food. Under the flowers and candlelight, he pulled out the chair for me and cut my steak. Just like before, displaying gentlemanly manners from beginning to end. At that moment, time seemed to flow backward. It was like when we argued in our youth. As long as I lost my temper, he would lower his head to me gently and humbly, and I would take the step he offered and come down. After dinner, we went home together. Leo even prepared bathwater for me. A long flight must be tiring. Soak properly and relieve your fatigue. I did not comment. Only when he turned around did I let out a weak sigh. When I walked out to get something, I heard Leo speaking on the phone in the study. His tone as gentle as water. "There's a storm tonight. Make sure you close the windows tightly. If you catch a cold, I'll worry." "Don't worry, I'll talk to her properly." Sigh. "If it weren't for you persuading me, I would have stopped wanting to come home long ago. Seeing her cold face every day." "Yes, I know, I'll be good too." After Leo came out of the study, he saw me staring blankly at him. For a moment, he was speechless. At this moment, I did not make a scene, nor did I mock him. I only suddenly saw a ray of light, making my heart and everything around me clear. Leo, let's divorce. Chapter 14. Hearing me say those words, Leo's whole body shook. Immediately afterward, he sighed impatiently. Don't be like this, okay? Leo pinched his forehead. You're not calm right now. Whatever it is, let's talk about it tomorrow, okay? He still thought I was only trying to manipulate him, or throwing a tantrum, but after so many years of marriage, I had never brought up divorce or breaking up over trivial matters. I had simply figured it out all of a sudden, but at this moment, it was indeed not the right time to explain everything clearly. I nodded. Fine, we'll talk tomorrow. Leo thought I had been persuaded. His expression shifted, and he hurried to the guest room. The next morning, I did not continue the topic. Leo stared at me, wanting to speak but stopping himself. Seeing that Lucas and Olivia were not at home, he finally said, "About yesterday, have you thought it through?" I glanced at him. I've thought it through. Leo visibly seemed to let out a breath of relief. It's good that you can let it go. There's a gathering for the company's senior management tonight. Can you come? The relationship between us was about to fall apart, and rumors had long since spread wildly inside and outside the company. Even Lucas had come to ask me whether these things were true. I told him not to worry and to do whatever he should be doing. I was still in my prime and did not need my son, who had just entered the world, to stand up for me. Lucas's very existence was already the greatest support for me. But to Leo, if I was willing to cooperate with him and attend this kind of gathering, it could quell all the rumors and stabilize the situation. The shareholders would naturally be happy to see such a thing. However, I had no time to help him keep up appearances. I shook my head. I have a meeting tonight. I don't have time. A billion-dollar divorce case. Even a top Red Circle law firm would need to hold meetings and work on it for a while. Chapter 15. After being rejected by me, Leo's expression looked somewhat ugly. He took a deep breath and said, "The company belongs to our family, and in the future, it will belong even more to Lucas and Olivia. You're not even willing to help with this small matter? Diana really is much more sensible than you." I sneered. Then you can take her to the gathering. I have no objection. Leo's face turned pale, and he retorted, "You think I don't dare? Good, very good." This was what it meant to find each other increasingly unbearable. My expression was calm. I turned the ring on my finger and said, "Do as you like." After saying that, I drove to the art center. Since I had already decided to divorce, I had to maximize my interests. Whatever I did, I required myself to do it to the best possible standard. After arriving at the center, I said to my secretary, "Help me contact lawyer Cameron. Tell him I want to divorce Leo. Have them prepare 2 plans and come here for a meeting." My secretary had followed me for many years. Hearing these words, his eyes went straight wide. After hesitating for 2 seconds, he said in a trembling voice, "Boss, are you saying that in anger?" I tugged at the corners of my lips. How could that be? I'm very clear-headed, and very serious. It was only divorce. So many people in the world got divorced. One more me would not be too many, and one less me would not be too few. Before long, Cameron arrived fully armed with 3 assistants. After all, it was a billion-dollar divorce case. Their solemn and professional attitude satisfied me very much. Cameron had worked with me for a long time and knew my character very well. He was the first to speak. "Roma, Thunder Technology was founded during your marriage with Leo, so you can absolutely divide the group's shares. However, according to our experience, litigation is the worst option. It would be best to first reach a settlement." I wonder, how has your discussion with Leo gone? Have you reached any preliminary consensus? Cameron's words were almost exactly what I had expected. I considered my wording and said, "I'll talk to Leo tonight. You first draft a plan for me and help me avoid risks. Then I'll discuss it with him and see." Cameron had not expected that I had not yet discussed it with Leo, so he looked slightly surprised. But he was very professional, and his expression quickly returned to normal. Chapter 16. Considering that Thunder Technology was large in scale and that the family had many assets, Cameron needed to go back and hold a meeting. Only 3 days later could he give me a rough breakdown. I agreed. There was indeed no need to rush for a moment. Over the next 3 days, Leo and I remained in a cold war, but since I was no longer conflicted inside, looking at him was not as unbearable as before. Yet somehow, Olivia found out about Leo and Diana. One had to know that Olivia was the youngest child in the family, and also a girl. She had practically grown up being cherished in everyone's palms. Not only Leo and I, even her brother Lucas doted on her deeply. A large part of the reason I had tolerated Leo before was because of Olivia. As a mother, I did not want her to experience the pain of a divorced family before she was even an adult. Even if we were going to lay everything bare, I wanted to find a suitable time. I never expected it to be exposed by one of Olivia's gossipy classmates. When Olivia came home from school, her expression was already off. After dinner, she was even more silent, her face dark. Leo was a little worried and touched her forehead. "Why aren't you eating? Are you sick?" With a slap, Olivia knocked her father's hand away. "Don't touch me!" Leo froze, then immediately roared. "You child, how are you speaking to your father?" But he quickly froze again, because although Olivia's neck was stubbornly stiff, her eyes were already full of tears. We were all dumbfounded. Lucas cleared his throat and said gently, "What's wrong? Are you feeling unwell? Or is school pressure too heavy? Tell your brother." The corners of Olivia's lips trembled slightly, and tears suddenly streamed down her face. "Dad, my classmate said you cheated, that you found a mistress outside who's the same age as my brother. Is that true?" As she spoke, she cried, "Tell me all of that is fake. Tell me you and Mom are still fine. Tell me our family won't fall apart. Say it! Say it!" Leo froze. The first thing he did was actually look at me, but I also did not know what had happened. Leo took a deep breath and forced out a smile. "None of that is true. Don't overthink, okay? Honestly, when is this puberty phase of yours going to end? You're already this old, so why do you still cry at the drop of a hat?" If it had been before, perhaps those words would have fooled her, but Olivia took out her phone and pointed at a photo. "My classmate secretly took this. She said she saw it with her own eyes." "Dad, what is your relationship with this woman? Why is she hugging you?" "Dad, are you also going to keep a second wife and have a bunch of illegitimate children like my classmate's dad? Then what about Mom? What about my brother and me?" Although the angle of the photo was a little tilted, Leo and Diana's faces and the posture of them embracing were very clear. Leo stiffened. For a moment, he was at a loss for words and could only use anger to cover his guilty conscience. "Enough! Are you interrogating me? I'm your father, not a criminal. What you should care about is your studies, not these gossip rumors." Finally, he shouted at me, "What exactly have you been teaching her? Teaching her to be this rude to her parents?" Chapter 17. Faced with such an absurd accusation, I raised an eyebrow and said, "I asked you long ago how you planned to explain this to the children, didn't I?" Leo sneered again and again. "What do I have to explain? Parents are never wrong under heaven. They eat what I provide, drink what I provide, live in what I provide, and they're not even fully grown yet. What right do they have to demand an explanation from me?" Olivia could not accept it. She cried so hard that tears streamed down her face. Leaning against Lucas's arms, Lucas's gaze gradually turned cold. I sneered and said to the two children, "You don't need to worry. Our family will not have any more disgraceful incidents. Your father and I have already decided to divorce." As soon as these words came out, it was like pouring water into hot oil. Lucas and Olivia were both stunned. Leo stared at me in even greater disbelief. "You're never done, are you? Roma, stop always using divorce to scare people. If you really want to divorce, I'll grant you that." Looking at his scarlet eyes, I said softly, "Since things have already reached this point today, let's speak clearly. I have already asked Cameron to handle all matters related to the divorce. You can also begin looking for a lawyer. That would be fair." Leo said in disbelief. "Why exactly are you doing this? I've already given you enough face. Diana is also very sensible and has never come to make trouble in front of you. What exactly are you dissatisfied with? Do you have to make this family stop being a family? Wasn't this just twisting logic by force?" I said coldly, "Leo, Truth isn't determined by who shouts louder. It's useless for you to yell. The family falling apart was not caused by me. It was caused by your cheating. You should have thought of consequences like your wife leaving and your children scattering, like the family breaking apart, before you started your affair with Diana. I looked straight into his eyes and said word by word, Leo, money may give you certain privileges, but you have no way to obtain true respect. After saying that, I said to Lucas and Olivia, even though your father cheated, he is still your father, not your enemy. If you have something to say it. Don't hold resentment in your hearts. Resentment tortures oneself. If my children resented their own father, they would also fall into pain. What I could do was try my best to reduce the harm Leo caused. Chapter 18. I had Lucas take Olivia back to her room. After the two children left, Leo looked at me coldly. Are you satisfied now? I sneered. What exactly are you making a fuss about? Don't you sincerely like that, Diana? I'm granting your wish. Please bravely face what you truly want. Just like I am. Leo gritted his teeth and said, what is this supposed to be? You think you're the only one who can be free and easy? You should know that I never thought of divorce. I asked in return, is it that you never thought of it? Or that you never dared to think of it? Divorce is too troublesome. It isn't worth it for you. So that's why you never brought it up, isn't it? I let out a breath. We've been together for more than 20 years. Just like you said, if we aren't family, we're more than family. Not to mention, we still have Lucas and Olivia. But now that things have reached this point, I can no longer forgive you. Let's separate. If we keep entangling ourselves like this, I'm afraid I'll come to hate you. That would be even uglier. My biggest flaw as a person was that I cared too much about dignity. Leo realized that I was serious, and shock appeared in his eyes. He took a few heavy breaths and said, what is your parents' attitude? Do they agree too? What use was there in bringing up my parents? Could it be that for my parents' sake, he would stop cheating and fooling around with women? I sneered. Living to this day, I am already the true head of my family in name and reality. I don't need to accept anyone else's opinions, nor will I be restrained by anyone. Chapter 19. Leo knew there was nothing he could do about me, so he sat frozen in the chair without saying a word. I said coldly, even now, you haven't once mentioned breaking up with Diana. That means you can't let her go. In that case, giving the person you love a proper status and giving me back my freedom and peace would kill two birds with one stone. Wouldn't it? Leo shook his head and said, I won't divorce. I can break up with her. I will break up with her. I said calmly, forget it. I can't trust you anymore. You chase, I hide, and your mouth is full of lies. What's the point? It wasn't as if I was playing hide and seek with them. I didn't have that much time to waste on such boring games with them. I cleared my throat and said, this is what I think. You might as well listen carefully. The family's cash, real estate, and other assets will be calculated and divided equally. But the house we live in now will belong to me. Lucas is an adult and doesn't need a guardian. He can freely choose where to live. Olivia is only 14, and a girl should stay with her mother. With every word I said, Leo's face darkened a little more. Finally, I said, as for Thunder Technology, I demand a division of the 56% of shares you hold. I, Lucas, and Olivia will each get 10%, and you will hold 26%. I felt this was still very reasonable. Half a year ago, the CEO of Nanchuan Construction divorced his wife, and they roughly divided things like this. The two parted peacefully. It only stayed on the trending searches for one day before the heat died down. As I spoke, Leo stared at me without moving, bloodshot lines slowly creeping into his eyes. Don't be like this, Roma. You're trying to scare me, right? He was the one who looked even more frightening like this, like an abandoned, resentful male ghost. I shook my head. If we keep going like this, we'll only be a couple in appearance while our hearts drift apart, eventually becoming a pair of resentful spouses. That isn't good for you or me, and it isn't good for the children either. You've already found your new spring. I'm only 46, and I still deserve a better future. I leaned back against the chair and said, let's divorce by agreement. I want to receive the share that belongs to me, and I want sufficient protection for Olivia and Lucas. Everything else can be discussed. Chapter 20. I had carefully thought through the divorce division plan. Aside from Thunder Technology, my art center was also very profitable, but there were too many intricacies in art collecting, and it was not suitable for outsiders to interfere. Leo also knew this, and I most likely would not have more children, so the things in my hands would basically be left to the 2 children. Leo would not be losing out. The shares left in his hands would be slightly fewer than what the 3 of us held combined. If he had other children in the future, we could consider joint control. Back when Leo had first started his business, he had actually relied on me a great deal. His career had not been smooth sailing either. He had gone through many storms along the way. Every time he was nearly sunk into the sea by violent waves, I would stand up even more actively and bravely, supporting him and giving him confidence and encouragement. In recent years, his career had become stable. Slowly, he no longer needed me, and I needed a rotten cucumber even less. Our principles were different. It was time to part ways. Even after I spoke with such earnest sincerity, Leo still could not accept it and refused to agree to the divorce. I exhausted all my words, only to discover that he was simply passively avoiding it. So I stopped giving him time and directly had my lawyer submit a divorce petition to the court. This meant that if we could not negotiate properly, we would only meet in court. For a listed company, this was the last thing anyone wanted to see. Moreover, the business world was like a battlefield. Leo had many friends, but he also had plenty of enemies. As the person who had shared his pillow, I knew his weaknesses perfectly well. If things truly blew up and we exposed each other's shortcomings, once I talked about the real tax situation of his company or the transfer of overseas assets, even if he didn't die, he would lose half his life. Chapter 21. Under my forceful push, Leo agreed to my demands. The lawyers on both sides negotiated for more than 2 months before the property division was finally settled. In the end, we announced the divorce to the public at the same time. As expected, on the first day, it rushed onto the trending searches, Thunder Technology's billion-dollar divorce case. Many people on forums discussed the reason for our divorce. I had to say, netizens were sharp-eyed and sharp-eared, pointing directly to Leo's cheating during marriage. Some people even vaguely dug up Diana's name. Fortunately, Leo had also prepared public relations crisis management in advance, and the trending search was taken down the next day. The information on the forums was also deleted. However, all of that already had nothing to do with me. The only thing that required some effort from me was that I had kept the divorce from my parents and elder sister all along. Only when the trending search exploded did they find out. My parents had been living abroad for many years. They could no longer control me, so they only called me to ask about the specific situation. But my elder sister was so angry that she scolded me. "Were you too impulsive? For something like this, you should at least have discussed it with me beforehand. I'm telling you, once you step back, there will be plenty of people ready to take your position." Men all dote on their youngest sons. What will happen to Lucas and Olivia then? That woman your husband kept outside counts as a quiet one. Why did you have to make things reach this point? I knew my sister said this because she was worried about me, so I spoke to her openly and sincerely. "Sis, there has never been a lack of women around Leo. It's just that none of them managed to rise to power like Diana. Do you really think a university graduate with no experience could climb onto Leo and still be a simple character?" Actually, I had already seen it long ago. Diana was a mistress with far more advanced tactics. She doesn't fight for status. On one hand, it's to win Leo over. On the other hand, she also only sees him as a stepping stone. Leo was 51 by traditional age, almost 30 years older than her. I had investigated. Diana's father was only 47. She was young, beautiful, and from a prestigious university. Would she truly be willing to stay by Leo's side for the rest of her life? Leo still looked decent on the outside, but he had every single problem a man his age had. In recent years, his physical examination reports had also revealed many issues, so Diana was preparing 2 paths. I had to admit, she was very clear-headed and very skilled. By divorcing Leo, I obtained 40 million company shares. Lucas and Olivia received the same amount. Based on today's market, that is equivalent to more than 600 million yuan. No matter how capable Leo is, he will keep working to earn money for me. and Lucas has already entered the company to work. Even if Leo and Diana have another child in the future and want to raise that child into someone capable, that will be 20 or 30 years later. I sneered. If Lucas can't take control of Thunder technology in 20 or 30 years, then he isn't my son. Lucas resembled me the most. I dared guarantee that he would absolutely not disappoint me. I spread my hands and said seriously, even if Diana marries Leo, what she can get in the future will be far, far less than what I have. Why should I swallow my anger and endure humiliation? My sister was stunned by what I said. She slowly came around. That makes sense. Chapter 22. Just as I expected. After everything happened, no one criticized me for my failed marriage. Everyone only knew that the local rich list had quietly gained a newly ranked female billionaire. After the divorce, Leo moved out. Lucas and Olivia continued living at home with me. My son's mind had long since matured, so I did not need to explain too much to him. Only Olivia was still very sad. She sobbed and said, "In the future, can the four of us still go on vacations together as a family?" I sighed and held her. No. Olivia's eyes were red from crying. I hate Dad. I hate him so much. I touched her head. Your brother and I can still take you on vacations. You can decide where we go next time, okay? Olivia shook her head violently. No. I don't want that. Boo-hoo. Lucas and I looked at each other, both seeing heartache and helplessness in each other's eyes. Lucas also said gently, "Stop crying. In the future, you still have me and Mom. We'll love you just like before. Dad also loves you, and Mom has already fought for the greatest possible rights and interests for you and me. You're still a rich young lady." He paused, then said, "Olivia, I promise you, you will always have the right to be willful, but there aren't many opportunities in life. Everyone has to work hard to grasp every chance. You can ignore Dad, and you can hate him, but if you want to get anything from him in the future, you'll have to rely on yourself." For my daughter, whether it was family affection or money and material things, they had always been within easy reach. Fatherly love might become her greatest regret in the future. Just as I expected, after the divorce, Leo did not marry Diana. They moved in together and seemed to be living quite well. I quickly threw them to the back of my mind and began my new life. Chapter 23. Perhaps when one is unlucky in love, one becomes lucky in business. After the divorce, the art center's business became even more prosperous. I also received signals of interest from quite a few men. After all, I was only 46, with both a son and a daughter, a career, and billions in wealth. Thanks to years of maintenance, I did not look old. Instead, I looked calm and elegant, a high-quality partner in many people's eyes. This splendid life was what I should be facing. If I could not think things through and continued struggling in the mud, I might still be caring about whether Diana and Leo had children, whether they were boys or girls, and how many they had. How ridiculous. 3 months later, my sister invited me to a charity dinner. She said to me, "You've been divorced for a while now. I want to introduce you to a few friends." I guessed she wanted to introduce men to me. After thinking about it, I did not refuse. But when I arrived, I realized that this was an event for rich older women to pick younger pretty boys. Looking around casually, the women were mostly around my age or older, while the men were all fresh-faced young men in their early 20s. Some of them even looked very familiar, probably some young celebrities. My sister was like an enthusiastic matchmaker as she said to me, "If you like any of them, tell me directly." I said speechlessly, "Does brother-in-law know you came to this kind of event?" My sister said, "I'm just here to feast my eyes." "But you're different. You're single. You can do whatever you want." After saying that, she winked at me. Fine. In order not to reject my sister's kindness, I sat down and had 2 drinks. But even though these young men were handsome and had excellent figures, they were too young for me. They were about the same age as Lucas. When I went near them to talk, I felt very strange. In order to breathe some fresh air, I took my wine and walked out onto the terrace. But there was already a tall and handsome man there. I happened to know this man. He was Marco, a Grand Slam Best Actor. We had once had some business cooperation. I remembered that he should be in his early 40s. Because he was a celebrity, his figure and appearance were maintained very well, and he looked only in his 30s. He clinked glasses with me. Tonight, none of them caught your eye? I smiled. Why are you so direct? Marco cleared his throat. At my age, if I'm still too subtle, people will say I'm pretending to be proper. I could not help laughing. Everyone likes handsome men who look good and know how to talk. I was no exception. After chatting for a while, he mentioned that there was a movie premiere next week and asked if I wanted to go watch it. I hesitated for a moment. I was wondering whether this was a date invitation or simple socializing. Unexpectedly, Marco saw through me. He took a deep breath and said somewhat embarrassedly. I gathered all my courage before daring to recommend myself. Chapter 24. To be honest, the two of us had chatted quite well in the past. We also had some shared hobbies, such as watching movies and mountain climbing. Because of work, I had come into contact with many celebrities and knew that they did not have it easy either. Once someone reached the top of this industry, there were actually not many marriage or relationship partners they could consider. Their income was high, and so were their standards. They were no longer suited to girls from ordinary families. But if they married female celebrities within the industry, most would face long-term separation and questions about whether the other person's private life was too colorful. If the person was not from the entertainment industry, then the young ladies from old money families looked down on them and, at most, would only play around. That left them stuck between aiming too high and settling too low. That was why many celebrities chose to be with their plain-looking assistants or managers. It was said that Marco had also had several relationships before, but for the sake of his career, they had all come to nothing. At this moment, was he serious? I looked straight into his eyes and could sense his nervousness. To be honest, I had never thought of finding a public figure, but I indeed did not dislike him. Thinking of this, I said, talking about romance and moonlight is meaningless. Why don't we talk business? That young man just now is from your company, isn't he? He's very suitable for one of our recent events. Marco frowned and said in disappointment. So, you like his type? I corrected him. It's not that I like him, it's that he's suitable for one of our company's projects. Chapter 25. Later, I hired the young celebrity under Marco's company for a round of promotion, and the results were good. Because of work, we had dinner together several more times. I also accompanied him to the movie premiere. Marco was especially considerate, gentle in personality, and had very high emotional intelligence. I felt very comfortable being with him. To be honest, Leo had been the only man I had ever had, so I did not know what it felt like to be with other men. Besides, I was too rational a person, and it was difficult for me to immerse myself in the passion of love at first sight. Progressing gradually, from friends to lovers, was exactly the way I liked. So we began dating. Although Marco had already started reducing his workload and was in a semi-retired state, his fan support club was still very powerful. Some fan club leaders and fan site girls keenly discovered the connection between us. But unexpectedly, almost no one was dissatisfied. Most of the comments were, "Wow, brothers date this time as Roma? I'm truly convinced." Both verbally and mentally. This lady comes from a wealthy family, received a huge fortune after divorce, has both a son and a daughter, and is beautiful and tasteful. She's simply a winner in life. Let me be born into a life like this in my next life too. Okay, this faithful woman is willing to drink one less cup of milk tea every day and sincerely pray for it. No, wait, person above, how many cups of milk tea do you drink in a day? Marco and I secretly watched the screen and both found it both funny and ridiculous. In fact, when faced with strength that cannot be shaken, most people will choose to attach themselves to it, submit to it, or approve of it. Half a year later, Marco used the opportunity of celebrating my birthday to propose to me. I did not accept. Dating was fine, but for now, I respectfully declined marriage. To show my sincerity, I introduced him to Lucas and Olivia. Lucas had no objections to my relationship. He only hoped that I would be happy, fortunate, and live well. Olivia's reaction was very unexpected to me. She was actually Marco's fan and told me she had always liked him very, very much. I was dumbfounded. Aren't you supposed to like idols like Teens in Times or something? Marco was old enough to be her father, but my daughter said, "Mom, you still don't understand me. I like this kind Is he going to become my stepdad? Oh my god! I'm so excited. Mom, you're my idol. You slept with my idol. Me? I really could not keep up with a young girl's thoughts. I felt a little embarrassed and could only say, "We don't have any plans to get married, but we will keep dating." My daughter took out a notebook from who knew where and said flatteringly, "Get him to sign this for me. He'll come to my birthday party too, right?" I smiled speechlessly. That should be no problem. Yes. Chapter 26. Because of Lucas's and Olivia's attitudes, Marco's and my relationship went very smoothly. Once, the four of us went out for Japanese food together. As we talked and laughed, the atmosphere was harmonious. After dinner, we came out of the private room, only to unexpectedly run into Leo and Diana head-on. Naturally, this moment was extremely awkward. More than a dozen eyes met, and Lucas was the first to say, "Dad." Olivia also called out reluctantly, but her hand was still looped around Marco's arm. I could see Leo's eyelid twitch. I sneered inwardly and only asked politely, "Here for dinner?" Leo nodded slightly. His expression became extremely ugly. His sharp gaze swept over us, as if we had done something outrageous and unforgivable. How funny. I was out socializing. Did I still need to look at his expression? Only after Diana gently tugged at Leo did they leave. Before I even got home, Leo's call came chasing after me. "How long has it been since you and I divorced? And you're already finding a stepfather for the children? And an actor at that?" His voice was icy. "Roma, what exactly are you thinking?" Chapter 27. I only felt it hard to breathe and said coldly, "You and I are already divorced. I have no obligation to explain my private life to you. If there's nothing else, I'm hanging up." This person always added blockages to my life, but Leo refused to let it go and shouted, "Roma! I'm not trying to interfere in your private life. I'm concerned about you. Of all people, why would you choose an actor? Don't you know how messy the entertainment industry is? Why did you even bring the children to meet him?" I took a deep breath. "I'll say it one more time. My affairs have nothing to do with you. Have you forgotten why we divorced? Leave each other some dignity, okay?" I hadn't even mentioned the harm his affair with Diana had caused the children, and he still dared to question me? Leo fell silent on the other end of the phone. After a long time, he laughed self-mockingly. "Roma, so you've never changed. I was the foolish one when I first met you. I loved your rationality, but now I realize that true rationality is heartlessness." What kind of strange words were those? I could not help rolling my eyes. Is your reaction time 10 beats slower than everyone else's? It had been more than half a year since the divorce. Wasn't it a little too late to say this now? If you're sick, go see a therapist. I can recommend a good one to you. After saying that, I hung up. But what I did not expect was that Marco's appearance had somehow stimulated some nerve in Leo. The next day, he even came to the art center to find me, his face full of regret and confusion, rambling on and on while pulling me into pointless conversation. For the sake of the children, I did not immediately chase him out, until Marco came to pick me up for lunch. Leo's face turned darker than the bottom of a pot. Marco teased quietly, "What's going on with ex-husband bro?" I said speechlessly, "Ignore him, he's having a fit." Marco snickered. Is it possible his midlife crisis arrived early? Me? This man's mouth was truly venomous. Chapter 28. After causing trouble for a few days, Leo discovered that he had long since lost his place in this family. Who knew what he was thinking? But he actually had his lawyer notify me, requesting a change in Olivia's custody. In the past, I agreed to let Olivia stay with you because you could take good care of her. But now you're only focused on dating, aren't you? I will not let my daughter call an actor dad. I could ignore Leo's recent jumping around, but now that he had actually proposed taking Olivia away, I was truly furious. Are you insane? Do you know that for children over 12, the court will take their opinions into account? Do you think Olivia will go with you? Go with a father who betrayed his family and abandoned his wife and daughter? Marco has social status and no moral flaws. He is far better than you. And you want your daughter to live with you and your mistress? What exactly are you thinking? From beginning to end, the most ridiculous person is you. Leo was scolded speechless by me. He gave a cold snort and said, "In any case, I'm telling you, I can't accept Olivia coming into contact with a man like that. Have you thought about your daughter at all? Aren't you afraid he'll molest Olivia? I think you're the one who has lost your mind." My daughter, Leo's daughter, absolutely cannot get involved with the big divat that is the entertainment industry. I shouted. Good, good. Leo, you always manage to refresh my understanding of you. You've completely thrown away your shame now, haven't you? Fine. I'll accompany you to the end. You want to go to court? Then we'll go to court. So I held a meeting with Cameron overnight. Cameron also said that Leo's chances of winning were not high. It was just that if the matter blew up, Olivia would need to appear in court to testify, and that would be somewhat cruel to the child. Because the matter was serious, I told Olivia about it. Unexpectedly, she was calmer than I had imagined and said, "Mom, ask Dad to come home. Let me talk to him." I no longer wanted to see this person at all and said angrily, "Your father has no reason right now. Don't pay attention to him." But Olivia still insisted. Looking at my daughter's firm eyes, I ultimately agreed. This was, after all, a matter between father and daughter. When Leo heard that Olivia wanted to talk to him, he was clearly surprised and also very happy. After we were all seated, Olivia took a deep breath and said softly, "Dad, I don't know if you still remember, but when my brother was in his senior year of high school, I behaved especially badly. I often threw tantrums, and once, I almost injured a classmate. At the time, you criticized me and told me to do the right thing and not always be so willful. I did not expect Olivia to say these things." Leo froze, then said, "I remember. At that time, your brother was at a critical stage, and everyone in the family neglected you a little. Later, we realized the problem and cared about you more, and then you became obedient." Olivia shook her head. "Mom didn't neglect me. Even when brother was at his most stressful, she still made me breakfast and reasoned with me. It was just that I was a little anxious." Her eyes reddened as she said seriously, "Dad, in our family, brother is more like mom, and I'm more like you, so I understand how you feel. You want my custody not because you truly want to live with me, but because mom is with Uncle Marco, and you feel unhappy, so you want to make trouble for her. I know you want to use this method to win mom's, brothers, and my attention, but this is too childish." As soon as these words came out, the entire family froze. Leo's whole body shook. Being called childish by his 14 or 15-year-old daughter made him instantly dazed. Even Lucas and I stared at her in astonishment. Olivia looked at us and continued, "Dad, maybe you haven't realized it, but everyone in the family depends on mom. She is both strong and kind, and she can always give the right answer. Although you are a successful person and many people outside flatter you, and your subordinates are respectful toward you, you actually depend on mom very much too. Ever since I was little, you have loved me very much, and I love you very much too. As your daughter, I hoped that you and mom would always be together, that the four of us would always be together as a family. But, at this point, Olivia choked up. 2 lines of tears fell before she continued. But after you and mom divorced, I understood that this world does not revolve around me. So, Dad, this world does not revolve around you either." She bravely wiped away her tears and took a deep breath. "Dad, if you want to win mom back and regain everything you lost, then stop making trouble. Acting like this will only push us farther and farther away, and it will also make you look powerless. In the future, you can come see me, but I will not leave with you." Leo was completely stunned. In his eyes, Olivia was still a child. He had never expected her to say such a thing. I was also so moved that I could not speak. Olivia stood up and threw herself hard into my arms. "Mom, I'll support whatever you do. I'll stay with you forever, even if you chase me away. I won't leave." When I divorced Leo, I did not shed a single tear. But at this moment, my tears could not stop falling. I could not help feeling a little heartache, but I was also deeply gratified. It turned out that my little daughter had already grown up. Lucas was not the only one I could rely on. She was also my support. I had regretted marrying Leo, but I had never regretted giving birth to these 2 wonderful children. Chapter 29. Next, I had Lucas take Olivia out. leaving only Leo and me in the room. He sat there blankly, as if all his spirit had been drained from him. I sighed and said, "Go back. In the eyes of your son and daughter, you're already a clown jumping around for attention. Don't keep lowering your own score. Otherwise, all the effort he had put in over the past few decades would truly become meaningless." Leo suddenly covered his eyes and said softly, "Roma, Olivia was right. I regret it. Lately, I can't stop thinking, why couldn't you just endure it back then? If you had endured it, it would have passed. I don't like Diana that much anymore. It was just a momentary thrill. She was only like one of my projects or a new car. After driving it for a while, it stopped being interesting. But you're different to me." Because he was sitting, I could see that the hair on the top of his head had been growing thinner day by day. No matter what, he had reached that age. What was the point of saying these things? The romance of growing old together that I had once imagined had long since become nothing but a bubble because of his cheating. But that was not caused by me. So what was there for me to regret? I sighed and said, "Stop saying these things. Let's part on good terms. Maybe in a few years, you and I can be ordinary friends. If you have difficulties in the future, I'll help depending on the situation. After all, you are Olivia and Lucas's father." I felt I had already done everything I could. Leo wiped his face and staggered to his feet. "Yes, I should go. I know I should go too. I'm sorry. I don't even know how things ended up like this. I'm the one who wronged all of you." Chapter 30. After Leo left, he was depressed for a while. Half a year later, I heard from people in our circle that Leo and Diana had broken up, and it had been an extremely unpleasant breakup. It turned out that Diana had always had a childhood sweetheart boyfriend, but this boyfriend had gone abroad to study and needed a large amount of financial support. That was why Diana had sold herself to an old man even older than her own father, in exchange for her boyfriend's tuition and living expenses. At first, she only sold all the luxury goods Leo had bought for her and replaced them with high-quality fakes to keep up appearances. Later, when the money was not enough, she even mortgaged the house to the bank. It was precisely this move that exposed her. After Leo found out, he questioned her about why she had done this. Diana had no choice but to confess. "You and I were just a financial transaction. I used my youth and beauty in exchange for money. To be honest, I never planned to go on with you, and that's why I kept advising you not to divorce your wife, because I already had someone I liked." Leo nearly collapsed. At his age, being cheated out of money by a woman was not really a big deal, but losing his family for such a woman was what turned him into everyone's laughingstock. It was said that that night, he drove Diana away and drank himself into a stupor alone. The next day, the housekeeper found that he had suffered a stroke. Fortunately, he was taken to the hospital in time, and it did not cause too serious a consequence. It was just that for nearly half a year, his speech would be somewhat slurred. I was truly completely speechless. Back then, I had only met Diana once or twice, yet I already knew that her heart was not with Leo. But I had no idea why Leo had been so certain that Diana sincerely loved him. That damned confidence. Although he did not lack people to take care of him, I still had Lucas and Olivia take turns visiting him in the hospital. After all, Thunder Technology still needed him to hold it up. If he collapsed, all those shares of ours would depreciate. For the sake of my wealth and stability, I could not let him fall now. Under Lucas's and Olivia's care, Leo gradually recovered his health. One time, after Lucas came home, he said to me, "Dad keeps asking me why you don't come." I raised an eyebrow. "How did you answer?" Lucas shrugged. "I said my mom is very busy." Lucas was too much like me. He never rambled, only delivered a killing blow with one sentence. After this illness, Leo would rely on Lucas even more in the future. Only when Thunder Technology was handed over to my son in the future would I be able to truly set my heart at ease. At the same time, Marco sent me a message asking whether I wanted to go on an island vacation this summer. I opened the hotel link he sent, and it was precisely the place where I had discovered Leo cheating again last year. For a moment, I was filled with emotion and asked, "How did you know this place?" Marco sent over a cute smiling face and replied, "A friend recommended it. I heard it's very nice. Want to go together?" With the children, I looked at the bright sunlight outside the window, and my mood became even brighter. "Okay,